What a pleasure, Jensen, it is to have Jack McMullen join the program here as we continue the Daily Diamond, breaking down every team before we get to opening day. Can't believe it's just a couple weeks away. Jack McMullen does a great job, Miami Marlins radio play-by-play voice. Give him a follow on X at Jack_McMullen11. Joins us now on the Progressive Guest Line. Jack, you're a very busy man where you are in Florida because you're just a hop, skip, and a jump from the WBC. What is that like when you're covering spring training and maybe you get a little taste of what's going on with the WBC as well?
Yeah, my 2019 Jetta is starting to hate me right now. I'm putting some serious mileage on that puppy. I actually got to go get an oil change here later today. But no, man, it's great because I get to go watch some spring training baseball. I get to go watch guys, ramp up and get ready for opening day, which is awesome. And then you get, at the end of the day, to pivot from that to the highest stakes baseball that we've got and we've ever really seen in the month of March. It is such an amazing tournament, and how lucky are we that, the Marlins spring training facilities in Jupiter, and then you go right down to your home ballpark at Lone Depot Park, and you get Venezuela and the Dominican Republic. I know there were a whole bunch of members of the coaching staff that went down to support Sandy in that Venezuela DR game. So I'm living the best of both baseball worlds right now, no doubt.
You are, Jack, and again, the pop from when Fernando Tatis Jr. hit that homer and had the bat flip seen around the world, unlike anything as far as sound goes that I've seen. And hey, I've pitched in some big-time postseason atmospheres in my Major League career. That's the goal now here for the Miami Marlins, right? Another great ascension last year. Your club was so fun to watch and to see some of the dramatics, especially the late game heroics. We now have a lineup, Jack, that you can sink your teeth into with some young stars in Kyle Stowers. Xavier Edwards has kind of been that guy who's led the charge. Agustin Ramirez has been now one of those big-time bats in the middle. Jacob Marcy, also one of the leadoff hitters that I think people are going to get a much better feel for and really get an affinity with this season. Let's talk about the top of that Marlins offense, because I think it has a lot more bang for your buck when you're looking at how competitive this group will be from day number one.
100%, Jensen. And one name that I want to throw you that you didn't mention is the shortstop, Otto Lopez. Marcy and Lopez are two premier breakout candidates this year. Otto Lopez is one of the better defensive shortstops in Major League Baseball, and he was one of the best defensive second basemen in Major League Baseball. In early June last year, they made just a simple flip-flop. Xavier Edwards was playing short, Otto was playing second. They decided to put X at second, Otto at short, and it worked out really well for the both of them. So Otto Lopez, certainly a breakout pick. I love that you mentioned Marcy, because this is a guy that was outside every single top 100 prospect list and outside pretty much every single Marlins top 20 prospect list at the beginning of the year. He was hurt. You didn't get to see him in spring training. And then all of a sudden, he's lighting the world on fire in AAA. He's walking a lot. He gets up on August 1st, right after the deadline, and he doesn't skip a beat. And he was, I think, the National League Player of the Month in August, not rookie, Player of the Month. He's a really good defensive center fielder. He will never chase. He has some power. He can steal 35, 40 bases in a given season. He is such a well-rounded player, and you match him up with a Kyle Stowers in a corner, and you mentioned Agustin Ramirez. This guy could hit 30 homers from the catching position. There's plenty to be excited about in Marlins land.
Jack, as a long-suffering Metropolitan fan, we know whenever they play the Marlins in big-time stakes at the end of the year, probably not going to go well for the Mets, right? And I look at their win total this year, Miami, at 72.5 for a team that won 79 games a year ago. And I wonder, is that because they look at the rest of the NL East outside of Washington, when things are going to be a down year for the Nationals, and say that the Marlins cannot compete with the Mets, the Braves, and the Phillies? Is that misleading? Because last I checked, they were nipping in the heels of 80 wins a year ago. If you get to 85 potentially this year, you could be in play to be in a late divisional hunt. Is that out of the realm of possibility here?
I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility at all, and I do think it is a little misleading given where the pitching is. Now, I'm going to answer this question in full, but I do need to ask you a question real quick. Every time a Mets fan acknowledges that they are a Mets fan, do they have to lead with long suffering? I hear it every single time.
It is, okay. Jack, look, I'm old enough that I still remember 86, but for people that are not old like me, they've really been long-suffering. At least I got 86 that I can fall back on, Jack. But, yeah, I look at it and I go, the Marlins are that team that's always kind of sticking in the side, right? They feel like they're always pesky, and they come up and bite you when you least expect it.
And how do they do it? They don't win a 10-9 ball game. At least historically, they haven't done that. They beat you 4-2. They beat you 3-1. They do it with pitching, and they are always built around pitching. And you look at this front two. I know Sandy Alcantara by ERA had a down year last year. It's Sandy Alcantara. This guy is 3 years removed from a unanimous National League Cy Young award. He's going to be a heck of a lot better than he was last year. And that was his year coming off of Tommy John surgery and just trying to figure out his arm again. Euri Perez, if you're not dialed in, this guy is 6'8". He throws 100. That fastball is unbelievable. He is one of the best young starting pitchers in Major League Baseball. And what president of baseball operations Peter Bendix has done in his 2 years so far is build a bullpen, man. He has found guys, and he has plugged them in, and he has figured out 8 arms that are really good on the heels of those guys. Did they trade 2 starters in Cabrera and Weathers? Yes, they did. Cabrera now in Chicago with the Cubs, and then Weathers is a New York Yankee now. But they have a surplus of pitching. They will win by pitching, and we're talking about these exciting offensive pieces. Why can't they win 85 games? Why can't they be in the contention for a wild card spot? I'm totally with you. They could be a thorn in the side of some of those big ticket teams in the NL East. Atlanta's beat up already. They have a ton of guys on the injured list. Philly is getting older. Like I'm just looking at a young, exciting team with the Marlins and saying, why can't they win all these games 4-2?
Jack, Peter Bendix, the Wizard of Oz, if you will, learning at the feet of Eric Neander, taking all of the sage advice that those Tampa Bay Rays front offices have found the cheat codes for. You talked about the bullpen, and ironic, we mentioned the Rays because their stopper and Pete Fairbanks will now be your guys' stopper here. I did want to touch back on your rotation. Max Meyer spring training thus far, I know you've seen it. Oh, my God. You want to talk about a big 3 in Alcantara, in Perez, and if Meyer obviously had the injury early in his career, but man, one of those highly touted prospects. And I don't want to forget about Braxton Garrett. Like I'm old enough to remember, speaking of long suffering, Cleveland Indians fan and former Major League player of the organization. I remember 97 in the Florida Marlins, and it was Levon Hernandez, and it was Al Leiter,
right?
And it was the back end of the bullpen that really dashed our hopes there. This feels like Clayton McCullough can run out a hat with 5 names in it, the rotation, and say, pick 3. We don't care who they are. We got a chance to win every series that we strap it up for.
100%. Real quick on Max Meyer. People forget because it was so early in the year last year, but in mid-April, he struck out 14 in his start against the Cincinnati Reds. He's got pound for pound one of the best sliders in Major League Baseball. So why can't Max Meyer be that guy? It's all about running through the tape for him. He hasn't thrown a full season in quite some time, so it's all about throwing a full season for him. They feel like they can really enhance Chris Paddock's arsenal, who they brought in this offseason on a free agent deal. But I want to throw you one more name, and it's one of the top left-handed pitching prospects in baseball. Robbie Snelling looks the part so far this spring. Yeah. This guy was a 4-star linebacker recruit, and he was a first-round pick by the San Diego Padres. It was a down year. He was acquired at the 24 deadline in the Tanner Scott trade that got him to San Diego. Tanner Scott, now the LA Dodger reliever. But Robbie Snelling recaptured some of that magic that he had right away after being drafted in the first round last year. And Robbie Snelling is up to about 98 miles an hour. He's sitting 96 right now. And the secondaries are amazing. So at some point, Snelling is going to factor into that rotation. That rotation is really darn strong, and it's such a tone setter. It is like it's the straw that stirs the drink for the Miami Marlins. It all starts with starting pitching, and if you've got 5 guys that you feel really comfortable, to your point, Jensen, running out and feeling like we have a good shot to put ourselves in a position to win, there's no scheduled disadvantage. You know, Colorado at points has scheduled disadvantages where they run their 5-starter out against a mid-rotation arm for another team. There is not a scheduled disadvantage in this rotation.
You guys are getting me to the window on the Marlins, I'll tell you that. I want to ask you very quickly about Gabe Kapler. You guys mentioned Peter Bendix. He's going to be in that front office under Peter there. What is he bringing? What's that been like, that vibe with having Gabe now associated with the Marlins?
I love interacting with Gabe, and he brings a level of ingenuity and creativity that I think is really cool. Gabe and Peter in tandem push the boundaries, and it seems like they want to figure out ways to get guys better in maybe unorthodox ways. I mean, there was an article in the New York Post last year about pitch design sessions, and it's just your normal bullpen side session, but you've got hitters in and you're measuring all of these pitches. it makes a lot of sense. There are a lot of pitchers that said they loved it, and they loved getting hitter reaction from their pitches in a bullpen setting. They're trying a whole bunch of new things, and it's been great. And Peter, I know, can lean on Gabe. Gabe can lean on Peter, and it's been a great tandem at the top of the organization.
Jack, put some miles on that Jetta. Get down there, enjoy the WBC. We enjoyed having you here, and we're going to have you back here in baseball season. Give him a follow on X at Jack_McMullen11.